Sierra Leone has a similar history with Liberia in regards to freed slaves repatriating to the continent. Not only were they coming from the United States, but also London and Canada. Sierra Leone would unfortunately share a similar pattern of civil war as Liberia, leaving much of its infrastructure destroyed. By the end of this video, you'll learn a little bit about the history of Sierra Leone and also how the economy has been progressing. I'll also share some investment opportunities available for you, so definitely keep watch till the end. The name Sierra Leone was adapted from the Portuguese name for the country, Sierra Leoa. The literal meaning is Lioness Mountains. The original Portuguese name, Sierra Leoa, referred to the range of hills that surrounds the harbor. From the 15th century onward, European traders congregated near the site of present-day Freetown under the protection of African rulers, who welcomed them for the commercial opportunities they provided, namely the exchange of imported manufactured goods for ivory and slaves to be employed across the Atlantic. A group of freed slaves arrived in Sierra Leone from England in 1787 to form a settlement. It failed but was revived by the Sierra Leone Company, a commercial company sponsored by English opponents of the slave trade. Black settlers who had liberated themselves from American slavery were brought over from Nova Scotia and built a new settlement named Freetown. In 1800, the Maroons, free blacks from Jamaica, were also brought in. These settlers were English speaking and many were literate and Christian. After World War II, the British government gave in to nationalist demands in Sierra Leone as elsewhere in West Africa. During the 1950s, parliamentary institutions on a British pattern were introduced in stages. The last stage was reached on April 27, 1961, when Sierra Leone became an independent state within the Commonwealth. Due to ineffective leadership after independence, several coups arose in the new nation, which led to a civil war that destroyed most of the infrastructure in the country. Sierra Leone is bordered on the north and east by Guinea, on the south of Liberia, and on the west by Atlantic Ocean. The capital, Freetown, commands one of the world's largest harbors. Sierra Leone is around the same size as West Virginia. There were growing economic difficulties in the 1980s, including a heavy external debt burden, escalated costs of food and fuel imports, and erratic mineral export production. Substantial devaluations of the national currency, the leone, also occurred, in a series of economic stabilization programs supported by the International Monetary Fund were initiated to address these problems. Foreign investment, which centered on the mineral sector, declined drastically after the start of the Civil War in 1991. Bauxite and rutile mines, the producers of most of the export earnings, closed in 1995. By the time the war ended in 2002, much of the formal economy had been destroyed and the government was faced with the arduous task of rebuilding the country's economic infrastructure. The Civil War, which spanned over 10 years, caused significant infrastructural damage, especially to the fixed line infrastructure. Sierra Leone lacks the infrastructure necessary to support effective commercial activities. Poor quality and limited infrastructure pose major challenges to investment, domestic travel, inland transport, and normal operations. Efforts to construct major roads leading to district headquarter towns and rehabilitate feeder roads linking agriculture suppliers with urban markets remain ongoing. The customs clearance procedure was simplified to reduce clearance time, and the major seaport extended to accommodate more vessels. Yet, the government needs to continue to construct other infrastructure, including seaports, airports, public utilities, and telecommunications. A road network originally developed as a feeder system to the railway has become the principal transport carrier. The network is dominated by a series of highways radiating from Freetown to inland urban centers. The government launched a long-term program in the late 1980s to modernize the road system to meet the needs of rapidly expanding traffic, but by the end of the 20th century, the roads were in serious disrepair. Reconstruction of the road network was a priority in the years after the end of the Civil War. The current access rate in Sierra Leone is 22.7%. Potholes and cracks in the road are a common sight if roads are even paved in the first place. More often, dirt roads are the common feature of the rural transportation network. Electricity is generated primarily by thermal plants, which are supplemented by a few small hydroelectric installations, such as the Dodo hydroelectric power plant in the southeast. The hydroelectric power potential of Sierra Leone's deeply incised river valleys is appreciable. Construction of the Bombuna hydroelectric power plant on the Roquel River, which began in the 1980s, was interrupted by the Civil War and did not resume until after the fighting had ended. Access to power is very low, at around 1 to 5% in urban areas, and is non-existent in the countryside. The country's installed power generation capacity is around 13 megawatts per million people, which is lower than what other low-income and fragile states have installed. A government railway was completed in 1908 as a means of opening the country to commerce and ensuring effective British occupancy. By 1975, however, the railway had been phased out, leaving only a short rail line that linked the iron ore mine at Mararampa with the port at Pepel. Inland waterways carry a considerable volume of mineral ores, pisava, and food products. Launches and sailing boats are important, especially on the southern route to Banff and the northern route to the Great and Little Scarce Seas. Freetown is the country's principal port. Its facilities handle all imports and agricultural exports. Specialized ports include Niti, which handles all bauxite and rutile exports, and Bonith, which exports agriculture products. The international airport of Lungi is situated on the north bank of the Sierra Leone River opposite Freetown. It can accommodate commercial jets and a large annual volume of traffic. Domestic air transport is limited. Before the Civil War, most health and welfare services were provided by the central government. There were also a few hospitals belonging to religious societies, mining companies, and doctors. Every district in the interior had at least one hospital. The major hospitals with specialist facilities were in Freetown and Bo. However, the destruction wrought by the Civil War left the healthcare system in shambles, with acute shortages of medical equipment and supplies, medication, and trained medical personnel plaguing the country even years after the end of the conflict. Life expectancy in Sierra Leone ranks among the lowest in the world. The Ministry of Health and Sanitation handles programs for the control and eradication of malaria and other infectious or endemic diseases. In other areas, sanitation is under the control of district health authorities and town councils. The National HIV/AIDS Secretariat of Sierra Leone was established in 2002. The organization's responsibilities include increasing awareness of the disease and of methods of prevention, promoting research, and allocating resources for treatment. Access to healthcare is mostly constrained by geographical barriers, extremely high out-of-pocket expenditures, lack of skilled medical staff, and poor service quality. Furthermore, the country's health resources are unevenly distributed, with the vast majority of referred hospitals and more than half of the entire workforce concentrated in the urban area of Freetown, the nation's capital. But corruption in the health sector, both bribery and unauthorized charges, seems to persist. The most recent Afrobarometer survey in Sierra Leone, conducted in July 2018, reveals that many citizens report difficulties and delays in accessing care at public hospitals and clinics. About half of those who sought care say they had to pay a bribe, a particularly frequent experience among poor and less educated respondents. Housing types vary greatly in the interior districts depending on the availability of materials. Roofs can be made of grass in the savanna region or of bamboo in the forest areas. Walls may be circular or rectangular, constructed of dry mud bricks, palm fronds, or more generally, lattice pole work filled with mud and coated with clay or chalk. There is usually a veranda attached to the dwelling. Houses with corrugated zinc roofs and cement walls can be found in most villages and towns along the roads. In the larger cities of Freetown and Bonith, some houses that remain from colonial times were built of wood or laterite stone in a Brazilian or Victorian style and roofed with slate. In 1999, as a result of the invasion of the rebels, About 6,000 homes were completely destroyed in Freetown and the surrounding areas. The country is divided into 4 administrative units: the western area, which was the former crown colony of Sierra Leone, and 3 provinces, northern, eastern, and southern provinces, which were the former protectorate. The western area includes the capital, Freetown. Northern province is divided into 5 districts, southern province into 4, and eastern province into 3. The districts are subdivided into chiefdoms, which are controlled by paramount chiefs and chiefdom councillors. The chiefdoms are further divided into sections and villages. The chiefs are hereditary rulers whose local powers have been largely superseded by those of officials of the central and local government. Their influence remains important, however, particularly in matters of traditional culture and justice. Although most of the population is engaged in subsistence agriculture, Sierra Leone is also a mining center. Its land yields diamonds, gold, bauxite, and rutile. In recent years, Chinese companies have become active across Africa, and Sierra Leone is no exception. Recent and current projects financed or built by Chinese firms include a hospital, a hydroelectric dam, rubber production, rice cultivation, stadiums, roads, bridges, and a fishing harbor. The population of Sierra Leone is around 7 million people, the majority being children and youth. Continued economic growth will depend on rising commodity prices and increased efforts to diversify the sources of growth. Non-mining activities will remain constrained by inadequate infrastructure, such as power and roads, even though power sector projects may provide some additional electricity capacity in the near term. Pervasive corruption and underdeveloped human capital will continue to deter foreign investors. Sustained international donor support in the near future will partially offset these fiscal restraints. The Sierra Leone currency is the leone, which is about $11,400 to the US dollar. The top corporate tax rate is 30%. The labor force is about 90% informal, is unregulated, and lacks specialized skills. Creole, a language derived from English and a variety of African languages, is the mother tongue of the Creoles and the country's lingua franca. English, the official language, is used in administration, education, and commerce. Arabic is used among Lebanese traders and adherents of Islam. School texts, information bulletins, and collections of folktales are produced in indigenous languages such as Mende and Tem. Education in Sierra Leone is offered in private and government-sponsored schools. It is not compulsory. There are primary schools for children from age 5 to 12, secondary schools that offer a 7-year program, technical institutions, and several vocational schools, trade centers, and teacher training colleges. The University of Sierra Leone consists of YORUBADE College, which was founded in 1827, Njala University College, which was founded in 1964, and the College of Medicine and Allied Health Services, which was founded in 1987. Sierra Leone's literacy rate is lower than the average in Western Africa and is among the lowest in the world. More than 3/5 of the population engage in agricultural production, primarily for the domestic market, but some also for export. Rice, the main food crop, is widely cultivated on swampland and upland farms. Other food crops include millet, peanuts, cassava, sweet potatoes, and oil palms. The major cash crops are palm kernels, cocoa, coffee, cassava, and ginger, and production is carried out entirely by small-scale farmers. In the 1970s, the government attempted to improve agricultural production by creating development projects funded by the World Bank. Agricultural production declined drastically during the Civil War. Private capital dominates mining concerns, commerce, and banking. European, Lebanese, and Indian interests are predominant, and participation by Sierra Leoneans is limited. Various inefficient parastatals were privatized in the 1980s and 90s. Mining employs a large segment of the population and provides a significant contribution to the national economy. Diamonds are mined by a few private companies and by vast numbers of private prospectors. Official exports of diamonds have declined dramatically since the 1960s due to extensive smuggling and the depletion of reserves. Foreign investment beginning in the mid-1990s helped develop the deep mining of diamonds, which was officially suspended after 1999 and then slowly reinstated after the wars end in 2002. Internal instability left much of the diamond region in the hands of rebel forces throughout the 1990s and early 21st century, thereby providing them with a lucrative source of funding for their rebellion. The trading of these so-called blood or conflict diamonds, a problem not only in Sierra Leone but also in other African countries, became a source of worldwide controversy. The United Nations Security Council passed a resolution in July 2000 that banned the import of uncertified rough diamonds from Sierra Leone. The embargo was lifted in June 2003. Industrialization is restricted largely to import substitution. Manufacturing is concentrated in Freetown, and production is mainly of consumer goods such as cigarettes, sugar, alcoholic beverages, soap, footwear, textiles, mineral fuels, and lubricants. Although factories are small and generally employ fewer than 1,000 workers each, their role in economic diversification is important. Farther inland industries are focused on the processing of agriculture and forest produce, such as rice, timber, and palm oil. Traditional industries such as fish curing and leather work continue. The top exports of Sierra Leone are titanium ore, rough wood, diamonds, aluminum ore, and cocoa beans, exporting mostly to Belgium, China, Romania, United Arab Emirates, and Germany. The top imports of Sierra Leone are rice, plastic lids, packaged medicaments, sauces and seasonings, and cars, imported mostly from China, India, United States, Ghana, and Turkey. So as you can see, Sierra Leone has a lot going on, especially after the war. There's so many opportunities for investment. So one of the first things that's really necessary is general infrastructural building. Because of a lot of the buildings were just destroyed in the 10-year war, you need to be built up. So you need tradespeople to come in and really build up just the general public works of the country. So you got hospitals, schools, government buildings, even parks. Like just so much that needs to be built up. So there's a lot of opportunity over there. Educational, especially when it comes to vocational training, really important. Not just college, but vocational, because you need those tradespeople to come in and actually make the country work. So education, if you're good in education, you're already in education, then vocational training for the young population that are outside, that are not working, are not employed, are not in school, that will be good for them to make them a skilled labor force that other investors will want to come in and do work with the people already there. The third thing that you need, that the country needs, is energy. So you're always going to need consistent power, especially if you're building up the country, then the demand for electricity is going to be higher naturally. So investment in green energy, of course. Also, fossil fuels, if it's doable, manageable, in a way that is efficient and doesn't destroy the environment over there. So green or energy just in general is really important. ICT, information and communications technology. This is the 21st century. You need to be in tech. Countries need to be in tech. They need to be well connected, especially for the citizens there to communicate with other people, especially outside the world. Business people want to be in an environment where you got data, you have service, you can access the internet at a very good price. These need to be developed, especially once again after the 10-year war that Sierra Leone went through. Waste collection and management. Of course, you always need to dispose of your waste in a healthy way, and this is an area that I don't really hear talked about a lot when it comes to just investing in just in general. A lot of African countries, how are you disposing of your waste? Because waste, if it's not disposed of correctly, then it can bring disease and cause even more problems. So that's really important. The mining section, because of the war, you got the diamonds already there, a lot of smuggling, but there's also other minerals in the country where everything doesn't have to revolve around diamonds, but it's still an unexploited industry that people can get into if they want to go into that, and then of course process the natural minerals that are there. It doesn't have to be just exporting a raw product and losing out on the wealth that you could get from that. Processing it as well. Of course, agriculture. Agriculture is always going to be big. You got the land. The land is pretty healthy. You already have, enough people. The good thing with agriculture is it's not so technical. So a lot of people can get into it and then you can reinvest those profits. So agriculture, very much needed in the region, really. And then also small scale manufacturing. So you need to be producing products to export. Remember, the key thing is you want to help these countries export. They want to increase their exports because they're running on a deficit. They import too much. So if you can do something that can help them be more diversified as far as their exports, bring in revenue and complicated items, then that's going to be good for the country. So you definitely want to keep your mind on that. Now, if it was me and I'm going to invest in Sierra Leone, I would start with I would just do vocational training and build schools for that. Reason being, the skilled labor part is what stands out to me. You have a lot of people, a lot of young people that don't have the appropriate skills to really help private investors that want to come in and do something. So if the young people don't have much to do, then what tends to happen is crime, bribes here and there, you know how that goes. And also women getting pregnant, a lot of babies, people just, having sex, like too much free time. So if I was going to go into it, I'll just focus on vocational training, get them some practical skills. At this point, degrees are not that important. Just having a degree really doesn't make any sense if you don't even have the infrastructure to work in it. So in these countries like this, especially Sierra Leone, you just need tradespeople to start building stuff and possibly innovate certain products that are already on the market, any of that type of stuff. So I'll focus on vocational training, and I wouldn't say agriculture because of the road transport. I know that can be a problem, and some other issues as well. I think it will be a little bit too much to start with up front. So yeah, I'll just focus on vocational training and the educational sector. If you're interested in an entrepreneurial story, I have one for you. 9 entrepreneurs capitalizing on West Africa's agribusiness potential. I'll definitely leave the link to that story in this video's description. So I hope this video helped you better understand the history of Sierra Leone and also how the economy has been progressing. If you have any relevant questions that you have to ask or any topics that you want me to do a video on, then please let me know in the comments section down below. Check out this video's description to see the links that I do leave for just helpful books and other material. And also, if you enjoy the content, you like this type of content, then definitely subscribe to the channel. Make sure to click the bell so that you're alerted when you do get when I do release new videos. That would really help me out, help this channel grow some more. Also, if you know anyone that can benefit from this type of content, then please share my video. Until the next video, I'll see you later.